Hello everyone, welcome back to our ethics series. We have officially completed the entire Aptitude chapter in previous class, and today we are starting a new session from the Lexicon ethics book, a very important one for UPSC aspirants and future civil servants, that is an aptitude. Aptitude is not just about intelligence or marks. It is about your practical ability and your common sense and your decision making style. It tells how you think, how you analyze situation and how you solve real problems. So let's slowly and simply explore the first part of aptitude. Okay. Now, every morning when we open a newspaper, what do we see? Scams, corruption, misuse of power, favoritism, bribery, right? These headlines reminds us why ethics and foundational values are so important for civil servants. A civil servant is not just an officer sitting in an office. He is the face of governance, the bridge between the state and society. This is exactly why UPSC gives so much weight to ethics, values and attitude. For example, if a government officer passes a file without taking bribes or speaks politely to an old villager, that small act can restore faith in the entire system. Now, why values are important? Imagine a civil servant who knows all the rules, all the laws, and all procedures, but he has no honesty inside. Then he can twist any law, find a loophole, or misuse power. This is why Otto Kirchheimer said something very powerful, that is, no external supervision can replace inner conscience. Values are like the invisible guardrails of governance. No CCTV or law can control a person who has no conscience. For example, two officers have the same rule book. One uses it to help citizens, the other uses it to delay work. The difference is not the rule, it's the value system. Now, foundational values are not just UPSC terms, they are the oxygen of public service. Let's understand a few. There is integrity, means doing the right thing even when no one is watching. And impartiality means taking decisions without fear, favor, or political pressure. The empathy means feeling what others feel and understanding their pain. These values appear simple but they shape real governance. And for example, when a collector ensures ration reaches the poorest families even when political leaders pressure him, that is the impartiality. When an IAS officer spends a night in a tribal village to understand water problem, that is empathy. And when an officer refuses a bribe even in a remote area where no one is watching, that is integrity. Private companies create private value, that is profit for their owners, and but government must create public value, that is fairness, justice, safety and welfare. For example, Aadhar created public value by making welfare delivery easy, that is people could get subsidy directly, but privacy concerns also showed how public value can decrease if trust is broken. The public value is not only about big project, that is even a simple grievance redressal system can create trust and value for citizens. Okay. In public administration, values often collide. This is called value pluralism. Should we focus on efficiency or equality? Should we follow rules strictly or show compassion? For example, online exams are efficient, but what about student with no internet? A civil servant thinks about both sides before making decision, right? Daily officers must balance the justice versus mercy, equality versus liberty, and rules versus compassion, speed versus fairness. And this balancing ability shows the maturity of civil servant. Now, values training. UPSC does not want officers who only memorize theory. They want officers who can apply values in real life. That's why during training, young officers are given the case studies, field visit, role play, real life examples, and mentorship. For example, a role play on flood relief asks trainees to rescue people quickly, but also ensure fairness in distributing food. This is real life ethics, that is speed plus fairness. Training helps officer build judgment, courage, and compassion. Aptitude versus attitude. This is a simple difference. Aptitude means skill, attitude means mindset. For example, a person may have high aptitude, that is fast learner, good decision maker, but if the attitude is biased, arrogant, or selfish, he cannot be a good civil servant. For example, an officer may resolve communal disputes brilliantly, that is aptitude, but if he secretly dislikes a minority group, that is wrong attitude. He will fail as a public servant. Okay, UPSC checks aptitude in prelims and mains, but check attitude in the interview. Okay. The poll identified the key qualities of good administrator, that is responsibility, initiative and listening skills and teamwork and humility. The government is never a one-man show. It needs coordinated effort. For example, when P. Sridharan built the Delhi Metro, his success was not only technical aptitude. It was his leadership, integrity, discipline and ability to motivate his team. These attributes turn a good officer into a great one. And that brings us to an end of today's lecture. Our first topic in the aptitude section of Lexicon Ethics series. We understood why values are the backbone of governance and how a civil servant needs both aptitude and right attitude. In our next lecture, we will continue with the next topic of aptitude, that is exploring more foundational ideas for ethical and effective administration. Till then, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Thank you for listening.